Do you know the difference between when a gun is loaded and unloaded? Or when someone says there's a round in the chamber, what that means? Not to worry, I'm here to help. My name is David Avalon. I'm the owner of the Nevada Shooters Club. And today we'll talk about the difference between a loaded and unloaded gun and what it means when someone says there's a round in the chamber. Okay, so first off, we're back again with my trusty Beretta 92FS. This gun is unloaded, no magazine in here, no round in the chamber, okay? And we do have a magazine loaded with dummy rounds, okay? These are little orange rubber plastic bullets, okay? They are not live rounds, all right? So with that out of the way, let's talk about first how to load the gun, okay? So I'm gonna drop the slide here, all right? Right now, as I said, the gun is unloaded, right? I grab a magazine, and you can see that the magazine has a slant to it. And if you look at how the grip is set up on this gun, the slant kind of matches it perfectly. If I try to load this way, it won't work, right? So you can only put the magazine in one way. And the direction that the bullet is facing, okay, so in this case, the bullet is on the left here, should also match your muzzle, right? So if I'm gonna load this, I would be grabbing with my dominant hand, I'm right-handed, and I would essentially get the magazine in there and then give it a nice firm tap. This makes sure that the magazine is fully seated. Again, an issue that people sometimes have is they try to put it politely, like this. And right now, although this might look it's all the way in, it isn't. There's a little gap here. And if there's a gap there or it's not fully seated, it's not going to be able to feed properly, right? If I push this in very slowly, you're going to hear a little click. That click means now that the magazine has seated, okay? But if I'm just trying to be polite and I just barely put it in, it's still sticking out. So again, best practice is get it in there, give it a nice firm tap. That's gonna make sure the magazine is fully seated. Now at this point, if I asked you, is the gun hot? Meaning that if I pull the trigger, is it gonna shoot? The answer here is no. If I eject this magazine, and again, to eject the magazine, all I'm doing, you're gonna see right here where my index finger is pointing, there's a little round button. That's the magazine release button. I simply push that button and the magazine is gonna drop, okay? Now, if the gun was loaded or hot, when I rack this slide, you should see a cartridge coming out. But as you witnessed there wasn't a cartridge coming out, okay? The reason being is that we hadn't loaded the gun yet. All because we had the magazine inside doesn't mean that the gun is loaded. It's loaded once we rack the slide. Now, I'm gonna do this in 2 steps. I'm just gonna rack the slide first, okay? And I'm gonna put the slide stop on, just so you can see top down what's going on here. Right now, the top round on the magazine is now being pulled and it's in the process of feeding, okay? If you guys can see it, I'll try to get as close to the camera as you can, right? It's starting to feed. When this slide drops by me pushing this down, okay, and this is my slide stop. So I push the slide stop down. Now that top round has been chambered, okay? At this point, the gun is hot. If I turn the safety off and I pulled the trigger and this was a live round, it would be shooting. If I drop the magazine and I rack the slide, you're gonna see right now that a round comes out, which brings about a second point, which is one, once I rack a slide, even if I take a magazine out, the gun is still hot because there's that round that was chambered. it doesn't come out because you take the magazine out. It's already out of the magazine and it's in the gun now. So in order to make the gun safe, after you take the magazine out, now you have to lock the slide. Once that round is extracted and ejected, now the gun is safe. And since the gun has a safety, it would make sense to get the safety activated. Okay? So, hopefully that helps cover what it means when a gun is loaded, unloaded, when it's hot, and when a round is in the chamber. Okay? And again, when we talk about the chamber, essentially we're talking about the end of the barrel here, okay? Not the shooting end, which would be the muzzle, but on the opposite end here. You could actually, not advisable, but you could actually put a round directly into the chamber like so, okay? Drop the slide, and now the gun could shoot here as well, all right? When I rack the slide, it's gonna extract the round from the chamber, and then, as you guys see, eject it and throw it out of the gun, right? Normally, when you're shooting with live rounds, what you're ejecting is the casing, right? Because at that point, the bullet has flown out of the muzzle, all right? And all you're left with now is the casing, okay? One other situation to cover here, and by the way, I kind of glossed over this, but if you don't know how to rack the slide properly, I have a video on that, as well as how to load the magazine. All right, so just make sure you check out the channel if you haven't seen those videos and need help with that. One exception here is I have the slide open, okay? I put a magazine in and I give a very good tap. Now, on some guns, when you feed and you tap hard, the slide will drop, okay? On this gun, it's not happening, right? On my Glock, it does, all right? But suppose, even if it didn't, right? When I feed a magazine here, when the slide's open, and then I drop the slide, at this point, this gun is already hot, right? And we can, again, verify that, because when I take the magazine out, rack the slide, we see that round gets ejected. Okay, so again, if you are loading your magazine with the slide open, right, and I give it a good tap, and that tap causes the slide to drop, be aware now your gun's already hot, right? Essentially, that's one of the primary, that's one of the functions of the slide, is to feed rounds, eject rounds, and also activate your trigger, your hammer, right? So it didn't activate there because I have my safety on. Otherwise, every time you rack the slide, you're gonna notice this hammer drops back, right? So that's just another thing to be aware of, okay? So in order to make this gun safe, again, good idea to put the safety on, okay, which drops the hammer, and in this case, on this gun, makes the trigger inactive. Take the magazine out, rack the slide, and at this point, once I had the slide locked, okay, the gun is safe, and then I can put it, boom, in my case here. And when you're doing any type of training and you're done shooting for the day, this is the preferred condition to leave your gun in, which is the slide is open. If you have a safety is activated, right? And the gun's completely unloaded, and just put it inside your case. In this case, this gun case doesn't actually allow me to have the slide open and fit the gun, which is kind of annoying. Most of them do. So I have to drop the slide to get it in there. But hopefully that covers all the different situations here about when a gun is loaded, when it's unloaded, and how to make your gun safe. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. If you did like it, make sure to share it with a friend, post it on social media, all that good stuff. And thank you once again.